Horsemen podcast, and what an episode we got for you here today. But before we get started, I am joined by, of course, Raphael.
Hello.
And then next to him, we got Ricky.
Hello.
And then on the bottom next to me here, even though you can't see his handsome mug, Mr. Artur.
You gotta pay to see this mug, Shane.
And then last but certainly not least, the always lovely Hannah.
Oh, Feliz Navidad! Feliz Navidad!
Feliz Navidad. Prospero año. Felicidad.
Oh boy.
We're singing that. I got tired of listening to that song back at my job. Because they play like 24/7.
Oh boy. But anyway, so we got a special episode for you today. We're doing two different things. First, we got presents to open. Yay!
Yes!
And Otis agrees. That was perfect timing, Otis Dozovich. Thank you.
Yep.
Holy fuck. That was perfect. But anyways, so yeah, we're opening presents, and then we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty, and that is, we're going to be doing the top 10 albums of 2020. However, we're not doing the new format. Instead, we're going back to the classic format of us taking turds and saying what our picks are for honorable mentions, 10 to 1, so on. Because the only reason we're not doing the combined 10 is because, oh god, it would get too bloody.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This album was better than that album way, but this album was way better than this one.
Exactly. That's where it would come down to. And already we got Joey, what's up, in the chat. Hi, you guys. But enough gawk. Let's open some presents.
Yes?
So I figured,
who's gonna go first?
let's let ladies go first, and let's let Hannah open what we all got
Yeah.
for her.
Well, I have to admit something, and you already know that. I was a bad girl, and I opened one of them already, and the other one was opened by my mother, and the other one arrived damaged, so it was open. And one hasn't arrived yet, I'm just going to show them. First of all, thank you, Levi. Thank you very much for the emulation vinyl. I had it on my record player, it's death metal, and Hannah still is not the biggest fan of death metal, but but it was certainly interesting listening to it and reading the lyrics. I like the lyrics a lot.
Yeah. Arguably, at the time, one of the most evil death metal albums of the early 2000s.
Yes, and the lyrics certainly are very evil, and the music is as well. And then, next one, I accidentally opened this because I got quite a few packages that day, and I wasn't sure which one it was. Thank you, Ricky, for the best album cover I got from this year's present round. This is 10-Foot Wizard, and they even included a personal message to me, the band, and it was really nice getting that. Thank you, and the album sounds great. So if you are into doomy, stoner, rock and metal, this album is a very good one. And and then lastly, thank you, Artur, for your present. I think I'm going to put this somewhere. Reminding me that I still have to get to Lisbon at one point because I've never.
There's a paper. There's a paper in there explaining what it is.
Yeah, thank you.
I try. It's a bit. What I did with all of your gifts was a bit kind of my job. What I do as a tour guide. So
that is awesome.
All of yours have an explanation on what it is.
Yep. And real quick, Hannah, what I was originally going to get for you, I was still going to get you an Immolation album. However, I wanted to get you their first album, Dawn of Possession, because I feel like you would have gotten into that before Close to World Below, because it's rawer and a little more sinister sounding. Plus, it was produced by legendary German producer Harris Johns. So. And the album cover is also just as evil, where it has demons tearing apart angels in the sky. So
Brutal.
yeah. So I wanted to get you that vinyl, but it would have cost me so much. So I decided to get their best album, Close to a World Below, which is one of the best albums in death metal, in my opinion. All right, Ricky, what all did we get for you?
All right, I'm gonna open them in the way they came in the mail. First of all, I have this one from Profound Lore Records, which was from Hannah, and she also sent a bit of a letter, which was a very thoughtful letter. And in that letter came this audio patch, which I will put it eventually in a new list that I'm working on. But let's see. Now, I looked up Profound Lore Records catalog the other day, and they have some interesting albums. Well, there were like 3 to 4 albums that stood out the most.
Well, they are a great record label, great independent record label. They have an awesome roster and catalog in general.
All right, let's see the first one. Holy crap! Veil Reaper.
Oh!
Holy crap! It's even more beautiful in person.
Holy shit! I'm jealous now. I am jealous now because I love that album too.
And the other one, really? Waver!
Oh!
Wow, I did not expect this one at all. Holy crap. Man, I'm gonna have to give it a good listen later on today. Yeah, but thank you, Hannah, thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Next up, this one's from all the way from Amazon, which is from Levi.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see what we have here. Just try to be very careful not to
Cut into
anything.
the thing, yeah.
Yeah. Come on, you stupid thing.
Yeah, when it's in
Open
cardboard
up.
packaging, it's stupid. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Mine was
There you
cardboard, so...
Alright, let's see. Holy crap. In the Sign of Evil.
And Obsessed by Cruelty. It should be both albums.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And I'm jealous that I decided to get that for you before I got it for myself.
Oh!
Yeah, man.
And
that's so cool.
hint and a funny thing, the Obsessed by Cruelty portion of the album, it's the original recording, the Metal Blade release, not the German Steamhammer release that I don't care for personally. It's the original, even though the guitar tone's a little thin, I prefer it over the Steamhammer version.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Next up, we got Raphael's. I'm just trying to rip it.
Rip it and rip it.
I don't want to damage anything.
And tear!
Try to be very careful.
I got my own little opener. It's a little blade and a letter opener.
Alright. There's some cardboard. That's always good. It's a good sign. Wrapping paper. Gone. Let's see. Holy shit. Black Dahlia Murder.
Oh, Abysmal. I have that album, actually. I actually bought that in North Carolina.
Abysmal. Holy shit.
That's a really good album. One of Black Dahlia's best.
You're welcome.
The cover just popped. Holy shit. Thank you, Raphael.
You're welcome.
And last but not least, Archer's gift. And I can say
boy.
this. And I can say this. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
You will see. But look out because the box has two things: the item and kind of a stand.
All right. Just trying to be very careful here. All right. Wrapping paper. It's always good to say. Little box.
The small box.
And let's
The
see.
the paper in all boxes was to avoid the small box kind of bouncing around.
Yeah. All right. And there is nothing else. Just
Nah.
all right.
It's only the small box.
All right. Now let's see what we got here. Oh crap! There we go. Here's the opener. A letter which I will read. I'll read later, probably
Yep.
after the reading the show. Oh wow! Holy crap!
The
That is so
guitar.
cool. That is so cool, and it's just not a guitar. It's like a banjo guitar.
No, that's not a banjo. I mean,
It looks like one
It is like
almost.
that, but it is explained a bit on the paper. That's
Mm-hmm.
the Portuguese style guitar, the Portuguese guitar.
Huh.
Oh. Well,
And
oh.
and originally that guitar is a 12-stringed one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I can see why. By the frets, now I see why. But again, thank you. I'm gonna
One of the links on YouTube are to see images of what it is. For Ricky, it is a full-on instrumental show with the Portuguese guitar.
I'm gonna have to find somewhere in my room to put that. But again, thank you. I loved everything. I was there,
No problem.
Like I said, I was like, holy shit. Oh, yep, that's it for me. Who's next?
Raphael.
Well, here we go. First thing I'm gonna open is Artur, your gift.
Sure.
Which the box came in already open, which is kind of
Really, Otis?
Really notice?
This is the paper you said that explains everything.
Yes.
Let's see what we got. Ooh, this looks nice. Thank you, Artur.
I think it's the castle, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, it is.
it's actually quite beautiful. Thank you.
No problem. Once again, it's all explained on the paper, on the letter.
Alright. Next, I'm gonna open Levi. You actually put my YouTube name.
I know.
I actually, when I made the packages, I actually put everyone's government name.
Yeah, I did see that. And then you put like your address and everything on it.
Oh man.
Oh! You got me one of the greatest albums.
Oh god, here we go.
Celtic Frost.
Morbid Tales, Emperor's Return.
Oh man, I've been looking for this one for years, and I'm like, where the hell can I find that? It's not in the record store.
And they just
It's not easy to find.
just reissued all their albums except Cold Lake like 3 years ago.
It's not easy to find.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you, Levi. Man, I bet Samuel here said, "Give me that shit."
Hey, he already has it. So why does he
Yeah.
need another one?
He has a big one too.
Yeah, he has the
I think he has
vinyl
the
too.
Yeah. Next thing, Anna, and you put my name in Spanish. Well, it doesn't matter.
Uh-oh.
And while this is happening, Artur, we hope you can get your camera back up because we want to see your reactions too, damn it.
Oh, God damn it. I'm trying.
Uh,
I really am trying.
No way. Please. No way.
oh, Fozzie
No.
Judas!
We got to have the shirt of this. Now I have the album. No way.
become man. Judas and
Judas
Judas.
in my mind.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Jericho, if you're watching this, I want you to sign this. This is private.
And Rich. And Rich, the guitarist, Rich.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait. I think I'm thinking since it's only fair we do it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the song.
Oh boy. Careful so we don't get
here we go.
DMCA'd.
Oh, yeah. Is it monetized?
No, I don't have it monetized on YouTube, but on Twitch. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so better not.
Yeah, better not.
Better not. Yeah. Better not put it.
All right.
Alright. Artur, your camera's still loading, damn it.
I know.
But,
I know, but
yeah.
I'll do what I can. But first...
But first,
I'll
Raphael
describe
still got the rest.
Oh, sorry.
So, the next one's from Ricky?
Mm-hmm.
The last one for Raphael. No, Ricky.
Like I said, it's an album that it has a little letter.
I'm gonna open it first.
And by the way, what's up, Chronics from the most extreme wrestling, who I tried to get on this episode, who I tried to get on this show at one point, and yeah, hopefully one day we can get him on because he's a massive Cannibal Corpse fan like me. So,
Thank you.
Powerwolf,
Powerwolf, nice.
and To the Nameless Dead.
Oh!
Hey, you.
So now we all have the Primordial album. We're gonna do the episode after this on.
Yeah, we could.
Mm-hmm.
Next year.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. Thank you, Ricky.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
All right, Artur. Even though we can't see it, let's
I'm
hear
sorry.
what you got.
I'm sorry, and I've tried to run this on my computer, but I had to do some other stuff that I don't know now. But first off, I only have two. One came from the States and the other from Germany. And I also got a lovely letter from Germany, where inside had a black and white Emperor patch. So when I get the chance, I'll sew it on my jacket, on my battle vest, so to say. Now I got this one, which says Northern Silence Productions, which I'm sure this is one from Hannah. And let's see what I have. Ooh, not bad. Their catalog, so to say. Their catalogs. Caladan Broods, Echoes of Battle. for guys like me and Hannah who love summoning.
Yeah, the American summoning.
You're very welcome. I wasn't so sure if you. I wasn't so sure if you already had it. I simply.
No. I have none Caladan Brood whatsoever. The only closest that I have is summoning, and getting those was a bitch.
Yeah.
So to say.
Yeah. Huh.
The other one that I got, also a bit from Germany, but it says country of origin, the United States.
Which would be from me.
And I open up part of it are 2 CDs. Yes.
Yep.
So let me see. Of course. By Edge of Sanity.
Both Crimson albums, yep.
Of course. But for a guy that like me that never knew once who was Dan Swano, and who has got so many times heard the name Edge of Sanity. I never got in touch to listen, but now, definitely I'll put these on the record. So, thanks, Levi. As for the others, still waiting.
Yeah, I'm waiting for...
But for those that could send, thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Alright, well now to my presents. Well first, I got this awesome Christmas letter from Hannah with a very nice letter and a death patch. So another patch to the collection for the eventual battle vest that hopefully I'll get soon. But now, on to the heavy stuff. So I'm gonna do Artur's present first. Set those over there. Time to use my handy letter opener and try it out. And yeah, and whenever my mom got this package, she said it looked like it's been through hell. So
I actually found mine, like, when I came from work yesterday, it was open. I'm like, what the hell is this?
a lot of paper.
I know, as I said, it was not... It was... that one... I think that one is the letter.
Yep.
That one's the letter.
Oh, I got a castle too. The Torre Bellum.
That's a tower. That's not so much a castle, that's more of a tower.
This will
But
definitely go on the shelf at some point. Thank you for that.
No problem.
So the tower will join Baby Groot at some point.
You could put Baby Groot inside. I mean, the keeper of the tower.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Well, the
You mean
Baby
the
Groot I
keeper?
got's too big to fit on that.
Oh,
mean
that's
the-
too bad.
So, yeah.
So is Groot the keeper of the 7 keys?
Perhaps.
Nah, keeper of the tower.
All right. Next up, we got the present from Raphael. So let's see what we got in this one. Oh! I haven't listened to this album yet. Cannibal Corpse Red Before Black, their latest album.
Oh!
Well, I've listened to one song on this, Code of the Slashers, but I haven't gotten to listen to this. And Chronix, if you're still here, he'll be happy to see this. So, yeah, this is only the 3rd Cannibal Corpse album I've gotten in the collection, along with Eaten Back to Life and The Bleeding. I've been needing to get more.
Yeah, which
No
I know
Butchered
is
at Birth yet?
Not
I
yet,
just know
or
it's-
Tomb of the Mutilated yet.
So I'm like, wait, he needs Jordan Corpse Grinder. One of his own.
A Corpse Grinder album. Alright, from Ricky now. And you said that you helped me complete a couple of band discographies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see what we got. Oh, first we got something in here. With the loveogram from him.
Heartogram.
Heartogram.
Parnogram.
Another letter.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I like how the
Yeah.
first thing you say, by this time your Zev Bellringer collection should be over 200 plus. Well, it is. Thank you very much.
I'll
So-
read your letter later.
Alright. First. Oh! Avenged Sevenfold's debut album, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet.
Nice.
So now the Avenged Sevenfold catalog is complete.
The
Nice.
next one you're gonna love more.
Oh
Okay.
boy. I'm guessing what it comes.
Ah, Opeth and Calda Venom.
Oh!
Awesome. Now I don't have to buy it, so there we go. Oh no, Hannah dropped. Shit. But yeah,
there she is.
so far we got the Death Patch, the Tower. We got Cannibal Corpse Red Before Black, Avenged Sevenfold Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, and Opeth and Cauda Venenum. And now the grand finale from Hannah.
I got you all albums from the Backstreet Boys.
Drum roll, please.
And
Wait, didn't you get him? Didn't you get him Diabolus?
shut up. So you said that this came from Nuclear Blast Records, and I'll never ever forget. On my name, it says Ms. Levi McIntyre. Thankfully, it was sorted out with the cards, so I'll forgive you for that.
No, and it was places where you said it, Messenger. You're like, hey, Anna, you mind explaining this to me?
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got first. Oh, Vader! Vader, Tibet, and Igni. Let's see. Oh yeah, I remember this album. I actually reviewed this album when it came out, and it was awesome. So
This is my favorite Vader album.
thank you for that one. And now for the final one. Oh, Creator! Finally a Creator album! Phantom Antichrist. Well, actually, besides Gods of Violence, I actually do have Gods of Violence, but yeah, Phantom Antichrist. The one before.
Possibly their best of the modern era.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, thank you all so much. So we got the Death Patch, the Tower, Creator, Phantom Antichrist, Vader, Tibet et Igni, Opeth and Cauda Venenum, Avenged Sevenfold Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, and Cannibal Corpse Red Before Black. Definitely gonna put these on the computer at some point, so hell fucking
I'll drop it on my stereo.
And actually, one last thing real quick. I'm not gonna show it just yet. I'm gonna wait till later to show it. But, well, that was awesome. I got a lot of trash to throw away now, all these papers and stuff.
We all do, actually.
But, yeah, that was an awesome beginning with these presents. So now that we got the Christmas portion done and out of the way, let's get to what you really came here for, and that is the 2020 Album of the Year list.
Oh God.
So despite how shitty this year has been, musically it was a pretty solid year, I will say. Then again,
slow on the first third of the year.
Yeah, it was pretty slow in the beginning. But it really picked up towards the summertime. And yet there were albums that were supposed to have come out this year, Carcass, that got delayed, but...
Gojira!
Yeah. But luckily, 2021, already, even with the announcement of the Disney Plus shows, 2021's already looking to be so much better.
Low-key!
But, before we get to next year, we still gotta get through the remainder of this year. But now it's time for the Album of the Year list. But before we get to the actual list, let's go through some honorable mentions. I have 5 honorable mentions on my list. First up, I got Generation Antichrist by Onslaught. Which, this is their first album in 7 years. It was a pretty good album. My only problem, I'm not the biggest fan of the new vocalist that replaced Cy Keeler. I'm sorry, Onslaught, I love you, but to me, it's not Onslaught without the voice of Cy Keeler. That gruff voice with the classic Nawabum-style high notes. It just ain't the same. New vocalist, he ain't bad, but he ain't no Cy Keeler. Musically, it's still a really good album. Definitely give it a listen. Next up, I got a couple albums coming up that came out early in the year, all the way back in January, February. First, I got Ballistic Sadistic by Annihilator. Yeah, Annihilator's always been one of those thrash bands that sort of escaped my mind, except for Alice in Hell, the classic debut. But I gave this album a listen. I actually like Jeff Waters, not only his guitar playing, but his vocal style. I actually think it fits perfectly with a thrash band. Next one, that also came out early in the year. I never, ever, ever thought I would bring this band up, especially with the vocalists that they've had for years. But I will say this is the band's best album in, 27 years. Quadra by Sepultura.
Oh,
I really, really like this album. To me, it's there still are a couple of weak songs on the album, but most of this album's awesome. This is definitely Sepultura's best album since Chaos AD, and that's a long time ago. But you could tell they were trying to get back into the thrash influence, and this is hands down the best Derek Green era album Sepultura have ever done. No question. Plenty of thrash, couple of the mid-tempo groove songs, but top to bottom, despite a couple weak songs, it's a really good album, and I'm curious to see what they do on the follow-up. If they go back to even further with the thrash sound, we'll see.
they're gonna have a tour with Sacred Reich next year, at least European tour.
Yep. Next up. Oh god, I feel like I'm gonna kill Artur here.
What?
So my next honorable mention, I have Demons and Wizards 3.
I have it on my honorable mentions as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was
I forgot to listen to that album.
Yeah, I just recently listened to this one, but for a power metal supergroup project, well, not really supergroup, side project between John Schaefer from Iced Earth and Hansi Kirsch from Blind Guardian.
Blind Guardian.
Yeah, first time listening to Demons and Wizards, I actually really liked this album. Despite the beginning of the album kind of feeling a little odd, it really picks up after the first song. It gets better and better and better and better. And I like the dark atmosphere of it too.
And this is almost 20 years after Touched by the Crimson King, which was their last album.
Yep.
So well worth the wait to me.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, my last honorable mention. At one point, this was my album of the year for 2020, but little to people's surprise, with the other albums on the list that were better than this one. But it's still an amazing album if people like this style. The Sanguinary Impetus by Defeated Sanity. Amazing progressive brutal death metal from Germany. These guys are like the German Suffocation. They have so many prog elements, a lot of amazing bass playing, low end vocals, and in my opinion, the best death metal band to come out of Germany after bands like Morgoth and Necrophagist. Out of the modern era, Defeated Sanity is the best German death metal band. Better than Obscura, I said it. But, yeah, those are my honorable mentions for 2020. Hannah.
Oh, I have a few more, but before I get to my honorable mentions, I want to mention two songs that I really liked. First of all, Secrets of the Moon and the phenomenal song Earth Hour. That was one of the songs I listened to the most frequently this year. The album itself, a bit weak in my opinion, a bit too soft, but still good, contains awesome songs like Veronica's Room, but in my opinion, the shining moment of this album is Earth Hour, which is fucking fantastic and reminds me so much of Sun. And then the second song I want to point out, because we didn't get an album this year, is the phenomenal Another World by Gojira. And this is the most fitting song to describe 2020, in my opinion. just the way it talks about the end of the world and the discovery of a new planet to live on, and then they discovered the Earth in shambles and stand before the Eiffel Tower in the music video. Just fantastic. And I wish I would get an album to go by with that, but sadly we have to wait a bit more. Two awesome songs. Two of my favorites, but let's get to my honorable mentions. I have 9. Sorry.
9?
9?
9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9.
The first one. This was actually the album that was the closest to get on the list, and that's March Funèbre with Einderlich.
Wow, really?
It didn't even make it.
Wow.
I mean, when the first single dropped with when all is said, that song again is fucking fantastic, and I was so hyped about this album, and I'm still hyped about it. This album, somehow there were so many other great albums that came out that it actually was on my list on the first draft, but somehow it didn't make it. I love the blend of death, of doom, and black metal elements on here. It's fucking fantastic. It's the first album I ever heard from this band, and it's great. I can highly recommend it, but sadly there were so many other records. And then the next one is the second album that almost made the list, and that's Alphaville by Imperial Triumphant. It's just this massive mixture of death metal and black metal, and then this infusion of New York jazz in there. It's so weird, it's so complex, and you get so confused when you listen to it. And the album before that, Vile Luxury, I kind of enjoyed that as well, but I enjoyed this one more, even though it's more complex, and usually complexity, at least when it comes to death metal, kind of throws me off. But I really like this album, and this weird mixture, the quiet passages where you hear like this elevator kind of music or diner music, and then the next you get walls of death metal and black metal thrown in the mix. Just insane. Well, next honorable mention, I don't know, I listen to this constantly since it came out. It's Midnight's Rebirth by Blasphemy.
I forgot to listen to that one. Damn it!
It's such a catchy little album, and it's just awesome. And I mean, usually this isn't the kind of music that I'm listening to, but I really enjoyed it, and every song on this album rocks the shit out of me, so to say. Whatever, and it reminds me so much of Venom and Immortal. It's just insane. And the next album kind of heads in the same direction, but it has a bit more of Immortal in the mix. It's the new album by Havo Kruunu, a Finnish black metal band, with their album Now Behold, Unios Soimain Sota. And I'm sure I butchered the pronunciation. I've loved previous Havo Kruunu records, and this one, I mean, it's just a lovely little melodic black metal album, and it kind of reminds me of Abath and Immortal, with a bit of Venom, and it's just rocks, and that's so awesome about it. Next one, Botanist, or Botanist, whatever, with photosynthesis. Photosynthesis in Germany. In German, the pronunciation is totally different. Anyway,
what else is new?
I mean, I listened to previous Botanist albums before, and I never could quite get into them. And this one, surprisingly, it wasn't the case with that one. And the thing is, they do not have electric guitars. They use hammered dulcimers instead, and it's just really interesting the way they sing about the environment and use this kind of earthy instrument. It's a very good album. And then next one, Solstafir, Endless Twilight of Codependent Love. I wish I could put it on the list, but I ran out of space again. The thing is, it's a bit heavier than the previous record, and it's a great album, but somehow there were other bands I found more interesting than this one still. This is, I mean, the stuff you expect from Soulstuffy. It's a bit moody. There are post-rock elements in there, but at the same time, it's a bit harder than the last record. It's a very well-written album, but I ran out of space on my list. The same goes for this one, Spirit Adrift, Enlightened in Eternity.
I forgot to listen to that one too.
It's less doomy than Divided by Darkness, and that's probably one of the reasons why it isn't on my top 10 list. But still, it's a fucking fantastic album of epic heavy metal melodies. The guitars on here are insane, and the singing is, as always, awesome. It's a very well written album, and the melodies it contains and the ideas, it's just great. But yeah, didn't make it. For the next album, Enslaved Utgard.
That one made my list.
Sadly,
I will say it. It's my number 3.
Didn't make my list.
It's on my number 3 as well.
Utgard.
I mean, the thing with Enslaved is consistency a bad thing? And that's the question I have with Enslaved, because every album is awesome, that you're kind of used to this kind of high quality outputs, so it doesn't surprise you as much as some bands who you've never liked, and then suddenly they put out this awesome piece of music. And with Enslaved, it's just every album is great, and I love the Norse influence, and it heads a bit more in the Viking direction at the same time as being more proggy. It's a fucking fantastic album, but I ran out of space. Well, the last honorable mention I have has nothing to do with metal. It's synthwave, Carpenter Brut with their awesome album Blood Machines, which is based on previous singles of their called Turbo Killer, and they had this one music video, and they collaborated with the guy that made the music video to make a whole feature film. I haven't seen the movie, but I have listened to the soundtrack, which basically is this kind of album, and the soundtrack is fantastic. Great synthwave, very cinematic, very epic. I've listened to this thing constantly. If I had constructed my list only based on the frequency in which I listen to the albums, this would actually be very high in the list, because I constantly listen to it, and it's a great album. And yeah, those were my honorable mentions.
Alright, Artur?
I have number 8 honorable mentions. One of them has already been mentioned, of course. Demons and Wizards 3. And it wasn't the closest album that would enter on my list. I have Karakangren's Frankensteinias Skatai Monaros. I mean, Karakangren has been once again one of the more consisting bands on the black metal scene, and Frankensteinia. The only I won't say the only, no. To listen properly to Frankensteinia or to any Karakangren album, you have to listen from top to bottom, because there's a whole story in it. And with Frankensteinia, despite the lineup change with drummer Ardek leaving disgusted with the music industry, they still pulled out an amazing album. Let me see. I have Body Count's Carnivore.
I forgot to listen to that one. Damn it.
Oh.
Simply because Body Count, despite what everyone says, it is great. And they have been doing some great stuff recently.
Yeah. Their last album, Bloodlust, was amazing too.
Exactly. I have 2 that have grown on me. And these will be a bit my left field, so to say, my weirder choices. Code Orange has grown up on me. And not just because of NXT, but also as well from their albums. And I have Underneath in my honorable mentions list.
I need to check that out too.
Yeah. And this one will be my weirder. Despite what everyone says, I'm starting to like Poppy. That girl with the robotic voice. I agree that she can be a bit campy, but she has done some great stuff. And I've put I Disagree her latest album on my honorable mentions list. I also have Metallica's Symphony and Metallica 2. I mean, I enjoyed it mostly because I have S&M 2 because mostly because it's a re-updated version of all the classics that we used to listen, and with a better crowd too. And this one is the closest. And I have two more. Kirith Ungol's Forever Black. I love that album. Old school heavy metal, and from a band that it was thought to be gone, they have come back in a brutal way. And last but not least, I'll understand that this may not be a part, but this one, despite being a soundtrack, it is metal as hell. Mick Gordon's interpretation of Doom Eternal's, the entire Doom Eternal original soundtrack, all composed by Mick Gordon. You can say whatever you want to say, that it's not an album, that it's a soundtrack. Hell, have you listened to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal soundtrack? Can you get a combination of groove, industrial, and sometimes death metal on it? Then these guys? Tell me. I'll be waiting. Those are my honorable mentions.
Alright, Raphael?
I only have 4 mentions. The first one I started with was a band called Firewind, their subtitled album. What can you say about Firewind? They almost all their songs talk about fire-related stuff. But I do enjoy their new vocals. The other band I'm gonna mention, Damnation Angels, Fiber of Our Being.
Ooh, nice one.
Which Damnation Angels is actually one guy, actually. When they first started, it was more than one. With the singer Paleka, who's now a YouTuber singer, making cover songs of anime related, and some albums he has are power metal related. But now Damnation only just has one guy doing all the instruments and the vocals. And no, it's not Paleka. I wish it was. Another band I'm gonna mention is also one guy named The Disfiguring the Goddess. The album is called Soup. I don't know how to pronounce this. It's like the word tooth, but with an S. So I think it's soup. I do not know how to pronounce it. But anyway, the last band I have is Asking Alexandra, Like a House on Fire. What can I say about Asking Alexandra? The singer went to another band also called, what was it? We Are Harlots.
We Are Harlots, yeah.
Then they replaced him with the lead singer from Down and Dirty. Then Scott came back, and then now he's fully with Asking Alexandra. But I think he changed his style completely. And I do enjoy him, even though A House on Fire is not really one of their best works. But it's still a good album to listen to.
Alright, Ricky.
Well, I have 7 honorable mentions. And to be honest, this was really hard. Like, I had to make some tough decisions. First off, I have The Ocean Paranoric 2.
Nice.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. But again, this album is a great album, but you need to listen to both albums back to back to get the full story. And it's a very drum-based album when you think about it. And one thing I want to add: Jurassic / Kratos, Rat Salad by Black Sabbath. Anyone? Just saying. Sounds the same. Next up, I have this will be the first of many Death Doom album-related albums that I'll be mentioning here. I have the sophomore effort by by a solo band called the Dead Sea with their sophomore effort, The Ceremony of a Marrying Mummy. This album is inspired by a true story that happened in the 30s about this German-based technologist who marries a 17-year-old girl and unfortunately passes. And as time goes by, he goes visits to her grave every day. That actually, it prevents him from going to work. He basically gets fired because he's not there at work, to the point that he digs up her grave, gets the corpse, brings it to his house, and the neighbors could see at night like a weird smell. They started to see like, what? Who's that? And long story short, he was like necrophobic. I think that's how it's called, necrophobic. But again, the thing about this album is that even though the story's fucked up, it beautifies the story to the point that you feel bad for the guy for doing all that stuff because he lost a lot of his life. But still kind of a fucked up story, but yet beautifies with Def Doom, with high death growl vocals, bit of a piano, and it just blends everything into the point that it's a beautiful album. Next up, it's the only EP I have on my list, and I think you might know which one it is. Ville Valus Gothica Fanatica Volume 1.
Oh,
When this dropped in, I want to say, mid-March, I was like, there's no way that's him. And then I was like, no, there's no way he's coming back. And I listened to the album and I was like, holy shit. These 3 songs are so good that you can distinguishing pinpoint more or less where they record. Some people say that some of them were doing the Dark Saga recording. Some would say doing the final album. And then again, Volume 1. I honestly thought we were going to get more throughout the year. Maybe like a Volume 2, Volume 3 led into an album. Hopefully in 2021, the Ville Valo releases something. Ville Valo, if you're watching, please read more stuff. Please. Next up, I have a death doom band from Italy with their debut album. The band is called Invernier, and the album's called The Void and the Unbearable Loss. Again, more into that aggressive death doom side of the spectrum, more death growls, a bit more blast beats, a lot of piano, which is something that I guess sometimes death doom kind of gets a lot with the piano and the violins. But again, very progressive, very melodic. Next up, I have another debut album, and this is Horsemen's Highland Violent. This is more of a, I want to say post-rock, maybe Seattle movement sound that a lot of people would dig into, especially if you like Wolves in the Throne Room. Even some people say that even if you like Agalog, which that's the thing that caught me. I was like, interesting. And it's just 2 songs. Just 2 songs, and both of them are like more than 15 minutes long, but it's a great album to listen to. Yeah, unfortunately, didn't make the list. Next up, Ozzy Osbourne's Ordinary Man.
Oh,
that's my number 8.
Yep. Now,
Really?
the thing about Ozzy is that I have 2 complaints. First of all, the first and the last 2 songs, I feel that those 2 songs did not fit the album. Don't get me wrong. No disrespect to Post Malone. He's a great artist, but again, it just didn't hit me with those 2 songs. I mean, the whole album is great from, Straight to Hell to everything from Eat Me, Under the Graveyard, Ordinary Man, Goodbye, Scary Little Green Man. I mean, we have that freaking video with Jason Momoa as Ozzy. I mean, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Scary Green
oh yeah,
Man.
when he was watching
one of the-
backstory.
And one of the toughest ballads of all, Ordinary Man.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
he
Now-
watched his entire life on
Mm-hmm.
the screen.
Now, if you would ask me if this is his final album, I think this is his final album because I mean, we know how Ozzy is right now. I hope he gets better, but I don't see him recording something else. I could be wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope Ozzy releases a bit more stuff, maybe a couple of songs that are on. But again, if this is his final album, it's a great way to go. And last but not least,
Absolutely.
some of you might be shocked that I have this on the honorable mentions, even though I was crazy when this album came out. Aaliyah's self-titled album,
No.
Aaliyah.
Now you honestly half surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, here's the thing. When the first single came out, I was like so fucking happy that Jua finally released Aaliyah's unreleased items to the world. And to be honest, it's a great album, and it has an acoustic and electric side. I mean, again, great vocals. The guitar Yuba tries best to match Aaliyah's voice. And this ends the story. This ends this 4-part saga that started with When a Shadow Falls into the Light, Trees of Eternity, and No Stars Upon the Bridge. This ends the, I guess, 4-part story of this love story, and it's a great way to end the story with Aaliyah's debut album. And yeah, that's it.
Good choices.
Alrighty, now to the top 10s themselves. And I shall start my top 10 from 10 to 1, starting with number 10. Oh, Ricky, I feel like you might have this album on your list. It is a Death Doom album. It's Thrinos by On Thorns I Lay.
Don't have that one on my list either.
Number three. I actually gave this album a listen last night, and it blew me away. Like, I remember that Song of Sirens that you linked us months ago, and I really liked that song, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should listen to the whole album. Wow, you want to talk about a close competitor to Swallow the Sun in the melodic Death Doom department?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this has definitely got that atmosphere, so I really, really, really like this album. And yeah, it got in over Defeated Sanity just by a notch. My number 9... I don't know, I just went nuts. You may notice there is a few death metal albums, not a whole lot though, but this one, to me, epitomizes classic death metal in the modern age. No disrespect to Gruesome, Matt Harvey's project, but I will admit, it's a death worship band. This album and band are really trying to bring back classic death metal to the modern age, and the production sounds like it was recorded at Morrisound, even though it wasn't. Entombment of Chaos by Skeletal Remains.
Ooh.
You want to talk about an amazing classic-sounding death metal album, this is it. There's elements of Obituary, Death, even Morbid Angel influences kind of shine through on here. Chris Monroy, the guitarist and vocalist, is like a modern-day Martin Van Drunen. He has that torturous sound to his voice. And top to bottom, incredible album. If you like old-school death metal from the late 80s, early 90s, especially the Tampa sound, this one's definitely for you. It is top to bottom amazing. And the album cover is fucking insane. Number 8, actually...
And Levi, since you mentioned, do the Knights Templar stand?
Mm-hmm. Anyways, my number 8.
Oh boy.
Oh, Barney Rubble. No Shock, Genesis 19 by Sodom. Yeah, when I heard that Sodom had a new album coming, I was like, I gotta listen to it when it comes out, and I did. A cool thing they did with the first song, the opening instrumental, that instrumental they played live for years, dating back to Persecution Mania. Never recorded on a studio album. They finally do it. The only other time you heard it was on the Mortal Way of Life live album from '88, right at the beginning before they played the song Persecution Mania. They finally recorded on a studio album, and then this album is almost like the culmination of everything that they've done. There's some blackened elements, there's some punky thrash, but there's a lot of traditional thrash on here, and it's also combining a lot of the modern influence of Sodom. But it sounds like they were mixing all of their eras into one. And the song Friendly Fire, perfect thrash song for this year. And it's awesome to have the classic guitarist Frank Blackfire in the band. Hopefully he sticks around for longer than 2 albums. And also this was a history-making album for some, first time ever recording as a 4-piece with 2 guitarists. Whereas before it was always a 3-piece.
I was considering putting Sodom on my list, but I've been disappointed by Sodom through so many times because they've released some kick-ass songs, but afterwards the main album is usually a letdown. So that's the only reason why I didn't put Sodom on my list. But now that you mention, I gotta go listen. Maybe I won't be disappointed.
Yeah. Number 7, this one shouldn't be a shock to anybody, especially if they know my tastes. Throes of Joy and Defeatism by Napalm Death.
Oh, of course.
I mean, Napalm, it's hard, because Napalm Death, like, especially since 2000, they've been on a roll. They have been on a roll for the past 20 years. After their experimental phase in the 90s, when they went death metal, they went groove, they went avant-garde even at one point. They go back to the grindcore death metal sound. And this album, wow. And also, I don't even really would want to call this a straight-up grind album, because most of the songs on here are between, 3 to 4 minutes long, whereas typical grind albums are, 1 to 2 minutes. And, and the version of this album I listened to, they actually do a really good cover of a Sonic Youth song, which is very odd, but yeah. But yeah, Napalm Death, they keep on kicking ass. And I look forward to what they got in store next. I don't see these guys slowing down at all going forward. And yet, most of the members are now in their early 50s and are still playing fast, which is insane to think.
And you still won't understand Barney Greenway's vocals.
Anyways, number 6. Another album that was at one point my album of the year before listening to other albums, but it still holds up as a great album. Dawn of the Damned by Necrophobic.
Oh!
Really good work by the Swedish Black and Death Masters. Although this is a little closer to black metal than death metal, it does have a lot of death metal elements. To me, it's like Necrophobic ever since the late 2000s. They've been trying to keep the legacy of Dissection going with combining melodeath and black metal together. And this is what that album is. It sounds like they're paying tribute to Dissection as far as the songwriting goes. And the vocals, too. And funny enough, the vocalist on this album was the original vocalist back on the Nocturnal Silence album, their debut, which is an amazing debut album. But yeah, Dawn of the Damned, especially the song Mirror Black, their first single, amazing stuff. Highly recommend.
Cross your fingers if they want to do their own version of the Somberlane or Storm at the Light's Bane.
Or do Dissection covers. That would be pretty cool. And they've done good covers. They've done covers of Autopsy, Slayer, and even Bathory. They covered Enter the Eternal Fire, which was solid. Now the top 5. This one I thought was going to be the best death metal album of the year, but there was another album that beat it out. And for a lot of the people at Banger TV, this was the best.
What the hell?
What?
Oh, I accidentally hit my mute button.
Oh,
I don't know how I did that when I waved my hand up. Anyways,
which one was it?
Okay.
I was like,
All right.
there?
I'm like, is something happened to my iPad or something?
Anyways, yeah, this was for Banger TV, their best death metal album. I'm gonna say it's the second best death metal album of the year, Mortal by Necrot. And this is only their second album, and this is another great example of old school sounding death metal, but it's a lot more putrid sounding than the Skeletal Remains album, and it kind of sounds like a mix of Autopsy, Bolt Thrower, and Entombed. Kind of that three-way combo where it's got that like nasty sound of Entombed, the gruesomeness of Autopsy with the songwriting approach almost of classic Bolt Thrower from the late 80s, early 90s. And the album cover, again, looks fantastic. Musically, it fits the album cover to a T. And the thing, this is only their second album. And their first album, Blood Offering, was considered a classic modern death metal debut. Who knows where they're going to go next? My number 4, in my opinion, the best death metal album. Straight up death metal, not subgenre death metal. Straightforward death metal album of the year. Where Death Lies by Carnation. Another sophomore effort. And I talked about them when we did the 2018 list. That these are one of the bands that is helping to bring back the old school Swedish death metal sound. Even though they're from Belgium, they're bringing back that old school Entombed sound, but on their debut, Chapel of Abhorrence, the vocalist kind of had that like Corpse Grinder style, like he was so inspired by Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse. On this album, it's still there, but it's not as apparent. Like his vocal style changed a little bit here on this album, and actually, he actually did a guest appearance on the Skeletal Remains album on the final track. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Oh, Artur's battery went. God damn it. Anyway, shut your mouth, Otis Dozovich. Anyways, so where Death Lies, top to bottom, probably, in my opinion, the best straight down the line death metal album I've heard in years. It is amazing. Like I said, that Swedish death metal sound, I can't ignore. And the vocals, not as Corpse Grinder influence as the debut, but he's definitely evolving his vocal style, and it worked brilliantly. So anybody here who likes Entombed, or any Swedish death metal band that has that Boss HM2 guitar pedal, buzzsaw tone, give this album a listen. Number 3, Hannah already spoiled in her honorable mentions, Utgard by Enslaved. And I agree, yeah, is consistency a bad thing now? Because they don't put out bad albums, they keep putting out consistently amazing albums. I'm still waiting for the day a mainstream band has Enslaved open for them, like Megadeth having Opeth on Gigantor in 2006 to give them that foresight. Just imagine if a big band like Maiden, or Priest, or even Metallica, or Megadeth even, have Enslaved open. And give Enslaved a bigger platform to shine and get more fans. Because they deserve it.
That will happen. The songs are just too long, at least most of them.
I mean, people said that about Opeth, and look where they've gone now.
Yeah, but Opeth is more accessible than Enslaved.
Well, maybe nowadays, yeah, but yeah. But yeah, Utgard, Enslaved, again, prog black metal at its best. Maybe along with Borknagar as well, but at the same time, yeah, Utgard, highly recommend. Number 2. This is where it got a little bit tough for me, because this and my number 1 album were neck and neck in the past week. My number 2, I've been hyping up this band for a while as the best extreme prog metal or prog death metal band in America today. Finally, they released their third album, and Dylan from Banger TV chose this as his album of the year, and you know what? If anybody else would have this at number one, aside from us in this group, you wouldn't be wrong, because this album is brilliant. Violent Portraits of Doomed Escaped by Black Crown Initiate. It's like Black Crown Initiate continue to evolve progressive death metal, kind of like bringing in elements of Opeth, elements of Gojira, elements of early Decapitated, as far as the more technical aspect. Yeah, they do get a bit djenty at times with the guitar tones, but it's not abusing it like Periphery. No disrespect to Periphery, but for God's sakes, people need to quit abusing the 8-string sound. Please. Just every once in a while it works, but not the entire song. Anyways, thank God Black Crown Initiate doesn't do that. I love the growls, but the clean vocals is what shines through on this album. The guitarist and clean vocalist, Andy Thomas, he sounds like Braun Daler from Mastodon in the vocal department. And I would say this is what would happen if Mastodon were a death metal band, because it has a lot of those Mastodon influences. So, for those who have never checked out Black Crown Initiate, so far 3 albums, and they just keep getting better and better and better, and I look forward to what they got coming out next. But now, time for number 1. I actually bought this album off of their Bandcamp when there was only 5 copies left. I hope we don't get fucked over on YouTube because of the album cover, but musically, top to bottom, the best album of the year, in my opinion. Ravening Iron by Eternal Champion. And I got the cover far away so nobody can interpret it, because I'll just say it. It's 2 naked chicks. It's boobs with a dragon. Probably the best album cover out there this year. And I actually had people on Zev Bellringer's Loyal Fans page to swap out the faces for Zev and her friend Princess Leia. And it's better. But regardless, enough of that. The music itself, old school metal at its best, or as they call it, epic metal. Better than Manowar. And there is even some elements of thrash, particularly in the riffs. You could tell that this was Metallica inspired in the riff department. Vocally, it sounds like Manila Road, Sirith Ungol, Crystal Logic, or Crystal Viper, I think. Basically the early 80s, early power metal sound. It's like, yeah, they combine early power metal with Nawabum and a little bit of thrash to create their epic heavy metal sound. The closest band that comes to this in the sound is Visigoth. But Eternal Champion, in my opinion, way better. I like Visigoth, but I think Eternal Champion blows them out of the water. And also, it features members of 2 prominent thrash bands from Texas, Iron Age and Power Trip. Because that's like a big family of musicians in Texas with Power Trip and Iron Age, and then a couple of the members come together to form a classic metal band. And yeah, and this is only their 2nd album as well. So anybody who has never listened to this album, give it a listen now.
Fantastic. It's fucking fantastic.
It is fantastic. And I want to thank Daniel DK for turning me on to this album from his live streams, because he kept on playing. I was like asking, what is this album? It sounds so good. He told me it's the new Eternal Champion album. I listened to it on YouTube first before the CD was released. And I went and bought the CD, and oh my god. All hail Eternal Champion. Hope their next album kicks just as much ass. So that's my top 10.
The album cover of the next one will even be better.
Maybe it'll be an homage to Cannibal Corpse Tomb of the Mule, except it's not gore, it's actual sex.
Oh, God. Never know.
you never know. But regardless, my number one eternal champion, Ravening Iron. Hannah, your top 10.
Well, quick warning. I have a few ties, but that shouldn't be surprising. Let's start with a tie. For me, prog metal was one of the strong genres this year, and that's why 2 albums are on my number 10. First one, The Ocean, Phanerozoic Part 2. And I mean, it's drum-centered and epic and complex, everything that you expect when thinking about the ocean, and they certainly didn't disappoint with this album. It just picks up where the first album stopped and forms a very cohesive unit, and it's just insane what they're doing and the way they are releasing such awesome music on such a high level of such a high level of quality. It's just insane, this album. And the same goes for Caligula's Horse, Rise Radiant, which is a bit softer. It reminds me a bit of Opeth at times, but it's so good. The vocal performance is amazing, and the soundscapes on this album are just insane. There was actually a third album that almost made it from A Mountain Caller, Chronicle 1, Truth Seeker, which is also a fantastic prog album. But Caligula's Horse and The Ocean were a tad bit better than that album. But in general, lots of amazing prog albums that came out this year. Well, on to number 9. This was actually the only album that I really liked in the first third or first quarter of 2020, and that's Igor with Spirituality and Devotion. I mean, once again, you get a weird blend of all sorts of things. You get jazz, you get Middle Eastern music, you get weird electronic stuff and a bit of black metal. It's very avant-garde, but in my opinion, a bit more accessible than the previous one, Sauvage Since Sweet or whatever. I don't speak French. Well, the lyrics, as always, are gibberish, but it's Igor, so what do you expect? Well, when the first single came out, Downgrade Desert, it got so many, it has so many Middle Eastern influences. The way the guitars are played and native instruments are included, and the vocal performances on here are just fantastic by all 3 singers on this album. It's just insane, and the entire album is awesome. Few of my favorite songs are Himalaya, Massive, Ritual, 7-minute Epic, or Paupering with guest appearance of George Fisher from Cannibal Corpse, and so many other awesome songs like Nervous Waltz and Musette Maxime. Every song in this album is weird, it's quirky, it's just insane how they blend genres, but it's so good. And the only album that I really liked from the first quarter of 2020. Yeah, from the weird to the weird. Surprise, surprise. I actually have 2 albums on my number 8. The first one is by Vile Creature with their new album Glory, Glory, Apathy Took Helm. It's well, what is this album? It's a weird mixture of choir singing and sludge and church music, and I have
that sounds weird. That is weird.
Yeah,
and
too weird.
And the first thing that actually caught my attention is the album cover. You basically have the singer's head in front of a baby blue backdrop, and worms are coming out of her mouth, and I was like, what is this? and I listened to it. At first I was very confused, but then I listened to the last 2 songs of this album. The fourth, or the second to last song, is entitled Glory, Glory, and it's only church choirs, and it's very very mellow and weird, and then you get the second or the last song called Apathy to Calm, which is a sludgy smash into your face, and the contrast, but how this actually works, and on the last song you also have this kind of choiry elements popping up once in a while. It's just very strange but very interesting, and it actually works, and I know that this one is going to be under my Christmas tree. Can't wait to spin it. Yeah. And then the other album on my number 8 was actually something that came out only 2 weeks ago, and that's the new Urfaust album, Teufelsgeist. Lo-fi black metal at its best, and I actually didn't realize that they had released something only until all the vinyls were gone. Meh. But maybe opportunities will arise at one point, who knows. But the first time I put this on and I listened to the first track, it reminded me so much of a mixture of Midnight Odyssey's cover of Where Hope and Daylight Dies of Summoning, mashed together with Dimmu Borgia's Perfection or Vanity, and it's just insane. It's so catchy and everything. I really like this effort. It's a bit more elaborate than previous Urfaust records, and it's a great one. Well, on to number 7. It's actually a collaboration. And before I get to my number 7, I must say that collaborations were a big thing this year. There were so many great things coming out where artists work together, like what was it? Emma Roth Rundle and Thou with their collaboration, which sadly didn't make it on my list, but it's an awesome album nevertheless. Or the split EP with Panopticon and Ariel Ruin, and the new Ruins of Beverage split. But well, on to my number 7. It's actually the collaboration between Spectral Lore and Mare Cognitum, entitled Wanderer's Astrology of the Nine. Great black metal combo. And the concept this album deals with is about the 9 planets of our universe. Well, if you include Pluto, or if you want to include Pluto, and I mean, most of the album consists of single songs where either Mare Cognitum or Spectral Lore played by themselves, but the 2 last songs are a combined effort, and it's just epic. Every song has different elements fitting to the planet they represent. I think one of my favorite songs is Venus, and I really like, what was it, Saturn? No, Jupiter is also a great one, and Pluto, the collaboration between the 2 of them, which actually is a 2-part song. It's just insane, this concept and the way they realized it. Very interesting album, and I can highly recommend this. Well, number 7, Spectral Roar, Mare Cognitum, Wanderers. On to number 6. I have to be honest, I have 3 albums on my number 6 because I couldn't kick any of them out of my list. The second genre that, in my opinion, was really strong this year was Funeral Doom. And there were so many great Funeral Doom records, and I just had to include them. Let's start with a collaboration. Again, Bell Witch and Ariel Ruin, Stygian Bow.
Not bad.
Blaine had that on his list, I believe.
Listen to it, it's so epic. I mean, you have Ariel Ruin, this kind of folky project mixed together with the incredible walls of sound and the slow-paced doom epic that is Bell Witch, and you get something amazing. This is, of course, entitled as the first part of the collaboration. I hope there will be more albums. It's just so awesome. This epic soundscape combined with the kind of solemn vocals of Ariel Ruin. It's just insane and so good. Yeah. Well, leading me to the next album on number 6, Atramentus with Stygian.
My number 9.
Yeah. I haven't listened to doom metal that were written in ages. Well, except maybe Bell Witch with Mirror Reaper. And I really like that this album does not contain noise elements in between the songs or in the middle of the songs, but focuses more on the traditional kind of funeral doom sound, and the way it's executed is just incredible. And it's basically 2 massive songs with a little interlude in between. It's awesome and epic, like the album cover, once again perfectly done by Mariusz Lewandowski, in my opinion, one of the best metal album cover artist in the last decade. It's just insane. And then the final funeral doom metal album on my number 6, Drown with Subaqueous. Oh,
Not bad.
If I had to be honest, I would say that this is the best of the 3 ones. It's just the feeling you get out of this. You feel like you're drowning. You feel like you're submerged under waters. The guitars, I don't know what they did to it while during production. They feel like a bit wobbly, like waves. And then you have this sound effects, like the breathing noise when you're deep sea diving and so on. It's just insane. You really feel like you're drowning, and the feeling you get from this is just insane. Well, I rambled a lot about funeral doom. Let's move to another genre for my number 5. We didn't get an album from Gojira, but we did get an album from this band, Orbit Culture with Niger. And it's this thing is just so energetic and the total opposite of funeral doom. When I listened to the first few singles of this album, I knew that this would be great, and it didn't disappoint me. Every song on this one is fucking epic. It gets you moving. Sadly, we can't mosh at the moment because there are no concerts, but I mean, seeing this guys live in concert would be epic. I can highly recommend the songs Ninja, Rebirth, and The Shadowing. Listen to them, and the vocalist. It's just insane that Niklas Karlsson can sing clean and the death metal vocals just as well as most can do it individually, but he can do both. It's just insane. Yeah, number 5, Orbit Culture, Niger. Number 4, Panzerfaust with the Sons of Perdition, Chapter 2, Render unto Eden. Well, I think this album is awesome, and even better than the first part of this of this series they're currently releasing. It's just epic. It starts out with the Promethean Fire, with a guest appearance from Masha Scream from Arcona. It's just epic, and throughout the course of this album, everything gets even more epic and more epic. The final song, Pascal's Wager, is just insane. Great black metal with some death elements and a bit of melodic elements, kind of like Migwa at times, but a bit different, and from Canada. I was really surprised to learn that they're from Canada, but it's a really awesome album. And then my number 3. When this came out in May, I was sure that 2020 would not be as bad as I thought it would be, since I was so disappointed in most of the albums I listened to. Horn with Mongang. Haven't listened to epic, folky black metal this good since Windia released their album, and that's in my books a very high compliment. It's just insane. Every single song on this album, the way it grips you and the way it captivates you, it's just the way how energetic and catchy this album is just insane. I had this in my car. I wasn't so sure about this album at first, and then I listened to the song Upstream's Canal, a ship's bell with sound. And I first thought this must be a cover of a Sailors song when I first listened to it. And then I looked it up, and it was an original song, and I was just so confused. And then went back to the entirety of the album, and songs like Satt scheint der Sud der Tat and Vom Triebbock geschossen. It's just amazing, this album. The lyrics don't do not make any sense, but I don't care. It was awesome. Even though I'm German, I don't understand the lyrics.
Oh boy.
but it's a really good album. And now to my top 2. This was so hard to decide, but I just had to make certain decisions in the end, and that's why this one is only on number 2. It's Ulver with Flowers of Eva.
Oh!
I'm actually shocked that ain't number 1.
No, there's something
Don't
else.
have that one on my list.
And Ricky knows which album I'm talking about. Ricky and I talked about this album. For so long, we've been talking about this for so long. We both love it to death, and everything about this album is just awesome. I mean, when Russian Doll, the first single, came out, I was lost. I did not know what to think about it because it was just so good. And then the second single with Little Boy came out, and this kind of synth pop Ulver has been playing lately, and they are doing it to perfection. I mean, if they had they released this album in the 80s, in the mid to late 80s, this would be in every club, in every disco. It would be in on the Billboard top whatever single charts. It would be charts. It would be everywhere. Sadly, we're in 2020, but still I can appreciate the music, and it's just so fucking insane. And then especially that one song, Machine Guns and Peacock Feathers. Oh my god!
Machine guns,
my god!
And peacock feathers.
It's just insane. I mean, Ricky and for me and Ricky, it's almost grown to this sort of meme because we listen to this one so often, and it's so fucking good. And I was actually going, or I had planned to see Ulver this year, but because of fucking COVID, this is not going to happen. I hope the show is going to get rescheduled, but well, let's hope this is going to happen. And now, my number 1. What could top Ulver? That's the big question. But there is something that did top Ulver, and that is Wayfarer, a romance with violence. When they announced this album, I was so fucking happy because I really love World's Blood, the previous record before, and World's Blood mostly dealt with the whole conflict between Native Americans and the white settlers expanding towards the west in the 18th, 19th century. But this one actually talks about the problems in the newfound frontier towns, and it just romanticizes what most of us nowadays think about the American West. And the way this kind of story is told, the way the violence is infused into the West is just insane. This album is feels like the most cinematic thing I've ever listened to. It's just that damn good. It starts out with the curtain pulls, which it features a Western piano and the fiddle and so on. It feels like it could be the intro song of a Western show, and then it kicks off with the Crimson Rider, and that one directly hits you in the face. With its walls of sound, but at the same time you have this Americana guitars and everything in between. It just feels so cinematic. And towards the end of the song, you get this amazing quote when a gunslinger or a cowboy or whatever is actually hanged, or the Crimson Rider is actually walked to the gallows, and then before he dies, he basically says, "I am iron, I am death, I am the setting sun, I am the West." And the lyrics are just so they captivate you. It's really like a movie, and you and the little interludes with Fire and Gold, which is such a nice Americana song. and everything in between, and then you've got the final with vaudeville, and it's just so amazing. How this talks about the American frontier, how it de-romanticizes the American frontier, and everything that happened during that time. For example, at the end, there's this quote: "Where's the dream? Of course, the American dream. Where's the world that was promised? Where's romance? When did it give way to rape?" And in the end, it says, "Who wears the mask? Who do the gunslingers ride for? Where's the dream? Bleeding, discarded, thrown from the tracks." And it's just, usually I'm not the biggest one looking into lyrics, but these lyrics are so fucking good, and this album is so fucking perfect. I thought it would be impossible to top World's Blood, but they actually did it, and by a mile, and it's just so amazing. And I ramble about it, and I did. Sorry, I have to apologize again for my rambling, but I simply love this album to death, even more than Ulver. And I thought it would be impossible for an album to top over, but they did.
Well, I need to go take a leak and do some real quick, but I will be back. Artur, get started with your list, bub.
Okay, here we go. My number 10, I have to thank Ricky for it. Because if he did not tell me that this band existed, I never would have figured out, especially being here on my backyard. Ashes of Life, Seasons Within. I mean,
It's my number
I've
5.
listened to some good doom metal coming in from Portugal, especially with guys like Process of Guilt and Dogma, but never would I thought that Ashes of Life would be doomy and proggy at the same time. So, in a way, my number 10, I have to thank Ricky for it. Surprised that Ricky does not have this on his list. AC/DC's Power Up on my number 9.
And you bought that album, Reese.
Yes. I mean, some of these choices mostly are because of my personal taste to it. And AC/DC, as I said, it's one of my 6 bands that influenced me to metal in general. And Power Up is an amazing comeback. Rock or Bust was good, but Power Up is a whole lot better.
Damn you,
Especially-
Artur. Damn you.
And he said that he was going to kill me today.
God.
Come on,
My number 8,
Beep.
in a way it has already been mentioned, it is Ozzy Osbourne's Ordinary Man. I mean, yeah, it is Ozzy Osbourne, and I've ranked it a little high on my list, that this place should have been for Kiri Thungol, possibly, but it's Ozzy Osbourne, and if it is possibly the epitaph of his whole career, I'm glad that this is an amazing album to do so. The Post Malone stuff, questionable to say the least, but I mean, when you have Straight to Hell, Scary Little Green Man, The Daunting Ordinary Man, and so many good songs on that list, on that album, it is hard. You can be a little bit more forgiving in some aspects. Let's see. Number 7, and this was actually a pretty good album that might have flown under the radar, but I got a chance to listen. Dark Tranquillity's Moments. Dark Tranquility.
I forgot there was a Dark
has-
Tranquility.
Has been another band that has been very good consistently, especially over these past few years. And Moment, oof, that raw crunchiness of Dark Tranquility is still present, and Nicholas Standa is still one of the best death metal vocalists, or you can call it death doom, however you want, out there. So I've put it on my number 7. Number 6, and this is an album that I've anticipated for so long. Fintroll's Verest Vedats. I mean, I'm a huge sucker for folk metal, which is why my number 6 and my number 5 are folk metal albums. But Verdestvat, I mean, how long has it been since the last Fintroll album? At least 7 or 8 years. And after listening to Verestvevat, it has been an amazing comeback. Number 5, it's Encephalum's Thalassic. Just 3 words that I got to say: rum, women, money. Simple. Number 4. For those who know me, know that this band, when they released, they would be on my list, and they did not disappoint once again. Paradise Lost Obsidian.
Nice.
Should have known.
I mean,
honestly, they didn't make my list, to be honest.
but I mean, Paradise Lost has been very consistent, especially over these few years. It has been with Medusa. It has been with No Hope in Sight, and now with Obsidian. It has been an amazing stretch so far. Number 3. It has been mentioned, so to say, Utgard by Enslaved. I mean, it took me a while to get in touch with Enslaved's more prog side, since I was most of a fan of Eld and especially Frost.
Oh God. Oh, there he is.
There you go.
Artur.
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, the call fell for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, I was like, what the hell?
You were saying?
You were saying?
I was saying that my number 3 is Enslaved Utgard. It took me a while to get in touch with the proggier side of Enslaved, but when I got in touch with it, I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit. And out of all that I've released, Utgard for me is arguably one of the best. Even though I will still hold a place for the black metal, the more pagan side of Enslaved, especially with Eld and Frost, I'm growing up to Utgard as well. Oh, Ricky!
Yes,
Number 2.
Artur?
Ghost of Orion by My Dying Bride.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
I mean, probably this would have been my album of the year. And My Dying Bride, Aaron Stanhope, and all the guys, I have to congratulate them because, yeah, it is an album that, like, Swallow the Suns when the shadows
It was forced into the light.
Yeah, when the shadows forced into the light, it came out of tragedy, but wow, what an album it is. But it's no better than my album of the year, Draconians Under a Godless Veil. I mean, I've not listened to that much Funeral Doom. Maybe I should listen because I still like My Shape of Despair, and Draconian after Ionian. I think it was the last album they called. Under a Godless Veil is amazing. It's doomy, it's foreboding, it's beautiful, all at the same time. And that combination between the two vocalists makes it so much worth it. So that's my 10. And for Levi, that I know that he hasn't listened, number 10, Ashes of Life, Seasons Within. Number 9, AC/DC's Power Up. Number 8, Ozzy Osbourne's Ordinary Man. Number 7, Dark Tranquillity's Moment.
Which I forgot
Number
about.
6, Number 6, Fintroll Verdesvat. Number 5, Encephalum's Thalassic. Number 4, Paradise Lost Obsidian. Number 3, Utgard by Enslaved. Number 2, The Ghost of Orion by My Dying Bride. And my album of the year, Under a Godless Veil by Draconian.
Quite a few of those I forgot to check out.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, Raphael.
Alright, number 10, I chose a band called Deads of Flesh, their album Nucleus.
Oh, Deeds of Flesh. Oh,
Ooh.
that's a good one.
And and number 9, Ingested, Where Only God May Trade.
Sounds interesting.
Number 8, Suicide Silence, Become the Hunter.
I have a kind of a hatred for Suicide Silence, but okay.
I prefer the Midlooker, to be honest.
Yeah.
But number 7, I mean, even though this album did come out last year, but this I do have to mention it anyway because Bradley. This is one of Bradley from Banger's favorite band of all time, Brand of Sacrifice, Godhand.
Ooh.
And interesting fact, Bradley is actually in one of the music videos called The Brandon.
Yeah. I remember that
Yeah.
one.
And which is the torture one. But and number 6, this is a hardcore band from Florida called Body Snatcher, and the album I chose from is The Heavy Boy.
Okay.
Number 5, even though this band tried to do new stuff, even though they're okay, they're not bad, but Mirror's Hindsight.
Interesting.
Number 4, To the Grave, Global Warming.
Oh.
Number 3, Lona Shore's Immortal, which I do not understand why on earth they say this is a deathcore band, yet they have a lot of black metal riffs with breakdown. So I believe they should have been called blackcore instead of deathcore.
Blackcore.
Oh god.
New subgenre. New subgenre.
Subgenre. Oh god.
No, actually, that genre does exist, which Carnifex is trying. I mean, I'm not saying.
Carnifex would be like the legend if that were the case.
Yeah, because they're actually starting to make that genre happen. Believe it or not, in their new album, World War X.
Yeah.
Number 2, A Virgin's Crown, which I've seen this band live before, but sadly that lead singer I saw live is not in this album. The album Hell Will Come For Us All. And number 1 of the year, Hatebreed, Weight of the False Self.
I forgot to listen to that one. I completely forgot to listen to that one.
Interesting.
Alright, Ricky.
Alright. My number 10, and this is gonna be probably one of the oddest choices in my entire list. Marilyn Manson's We Are Chaos.
What?
Whoa,
Interesting.
Now, a bit of a backstory with me and Manson. When in 2018 when I started going out of town shows, Manson was the first guy I actually went out of town. I actually went out of town to watch him during the Heaven Upside Down tour. And I thought the show was phenomenal, and Manson has gained my respect. The thing I like about Manson is that every album is different. Like from the early one, from Man and I Superstar being more industrial to the later albums from the 2010s being The Pale Emperor and Heaven Outside, the more about electronica rock, even though they didn't actually hit with a lot of fans. For me, those two albums were at the same time hit and miss. There were some songs that they liked from those albums, some that didn't. This album is completely different because it has a David Bowie-esque theme with the song We Are Chaos. You can automatically get the David Bowie influence. Not only that, but Don't Chase the Devil is probably my favorite song in the entire album. It's so catchy, and I like the lyric that says, "If tonight lasts forever, it won't matter. There's no tomorrow." I think that's just so poetically, beautifully. And like I said, Manson's dedicated to his fans that in the lyric sheets, which I'm trying to see if I can get it here in the camera. You have the lyric sheets in one side, and in the back, one of Manson's paintings, which I think that's actually pretty cool. Maybe you want to put it as a poster, or you want to keep it in the liner sheets. I think it's a great album to listen to. Again, one of those odd choices on my list, but I just, like I said, I love Manson. I'm not one of those big fanboy Manson guys, because I know there's someone out there. But like I said, I just love Manson. I just love Manson. My number 9999. Hannah mentioned it, and she actually gave this for my birthday at Tormentus Stadium. Now, the thing about this album that you need to understand is once you look the lyric sheets, you think that you're like, wait, this is a big ass book. It's a full story that you need to, as you listen to the album, you need to listen to the story, because then you're gonna be so lost within the album. Plus, the album cover is so amazing. By the same guy who did Mirror Reaper.
Mariusz Lewandowski.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to say they're the same, but if you want to, I guess, say you want like a continuation in a way, this to Mirror Reaper is kind of a continuation, even though it's not really a continuation, but does the job right. It just has a lot of atmosphere and a lot of like frightening moments, especially at the very end of the second song, where you this guy gasping like he just came back from the dead, or he just, I don't know, was drowned and like tried to breathe again. It was frightening at first, but again, the atmosphere, the screaming just blends all together, and just a great album to listen to. My number 8 is a debut album by an American band, an epic doom band called Marrowfields, with their debut album Metamorphosis. Now, the thing about this album, the whole album is inspired by the epic poet Ovid, which is kind of like the same way as another epic poem like the Odyssey, just a bit different. This album finds epic doomness with atmosphere, screeching growls. It's a story about the killings of gods, worshipping gods, a flood. Basically, the story of how, I guess in a way, how humanity was created, and the killings of a god, and you becoming a god. And I see this band touring soon with like bands like Chemist, bands like Paul Bearer, which I forgot to mention Paul Bearer in my honorable mentions, so honorable mentions to Paul Bearer. But yeah, I mean, make sure to look out for these guys. Bands, if you like bands like Paul Bearer and Chemist, you're gonna love these guys. My number 7, again, Death Doom. This year I've been so obsessed with Death Doom, like overly obsessed with Death Doom. And I have here probably one of the most beautiful album artworks I've ever seen in my life. Cloud's Jewelry. Now, at first hands, this artwork makes me feel a bit sad, but once you listen to the album, it has this beautiful take on their sound with elegant gothic influence, a lot of rich instrumentation, and you know, it touches you on your heart so much that you begin to cry a bit. Not Swallow Someone and Shout Forth into the Light, powerful, but still very much powerful indeed. But again, give these guys a listen, and again, that album artwork. Look how sad yet beautiful at the same time. It looks like maybe some people say it's an apple, some people say it's a heart. I think it's more of a heart, but again, beautiful, beautiful album. My number 6, all the way from, I forgot where this is from. I think it's somewhere in South America. Somewhere in South America. This is Rise to the Skies. Death Will Not Keep Us Apart. Now, I was very lucky because I was the first person to get this album on CD, because I was the first person to actually order it.
Huh.
And this is a concept album about this post-apocalyptic world where this couple's trying to survive from, the catastrophic events, animals, and then of course the woman in this tale, her leg get hurt. She damages her leg, and of course they have to reach to this top mountain to survive. And the guy's the only one who can climb the mountain because her love can't. And he takes the risk of, instead of climbing the mountain and dying alone, he decides to stay with her and die together in a gruesome yet beautiful death. And again, beautiful album. And it makes me think of what would some people do to stay with their loved ones, even if it means dying in front of them. That love that you have for a special someone, you want to be with them even if you're going to both die together. I mean, it's, again, such a beautiful thing. My number 5, all the way from Lisbon, Portugal. Ashes of Life, Ceases Within.
I knew it.
I am surprised Artur didn't know this band before I told him about it, because I was like, maybe he knows these guys. And again, progressive, doom, atmosphere, just a great album in itself. The album cover reminds me a bit of Swallow the Sun. That's why it caught my attention. My favorite song on the album is it's probably the 3rd track, and it's the instrumental Burn. I mean, ups and downs, the little guitar, I mean, just great atmosphere. And if anyone in Vagos who does the Vagos, get these guys in Vagos. You will not be disappointed, please.
It's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My number 4, and Artur mentioned it, and this was at one time my album of the year. But as time went by, it went a bit down, but still, it's an amazing album that I've gone back to. My Dying Bride, The Ghost of Orion.
Oh yeah.
Now, this was the first My Dying Bride album I listened to in its entirety. Tragic story about Aaron's daughter dying with cancer, and of course, he got all that emotion into the album, which created probably one of the best songs that they've ever done, called Tired of Tears, even though he in interviews said that he would never sing that song live because he doesn't want to go back and relive that painful moment. Even the first single, Your Broken Shore, even the first single, Your Broken Shore, I like it how it starts with like double, triple, quadruple voice that the studio like has like a more in-depth voice to it. Guitars are great, drumming is great, the violin is great, everything about this album was great. And again, I wish that and I know I'm beating a dead horse with this, I wish Anathema could have released an album this year so we can say that the Peaceful 3 released something. But Anathema, as much as I love your early stuff, your late stuff, just no, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
Like, oh no.
Late stuff sucks. I am sorry. My number 3, even though it's in my 3rd, even though it gets the bronze medal, for this year, it gets the gold medal for being the best Death Doom album of the year. On Thorns I Lay by Frenos. Now, I discovered this album actually from Cover Killer Nation, which uploaded the photo to his Facebook page, and it caught my attention. I was like, maybe I could listen to this album. And holy crap, was this album amazing.
And I blame you for getting me into it, too.
And the one thing that I want to mention, and I think Levi forgot to mention this, is that this album was produced by Dan Swano.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, at Eurosound. So,
Unisound, yeah, his classic studio in Sweden.
So for hardcore Dan Swano fans, I know they'll listen to anything he produces, touches, or even smells. Again, progressiveness with a bit of the melodic growls, has a mix of both styles of Death Doom that I personally like, even though like more the melodic side of Death Doom has a great balance of both. And my favorite song is probably Odysseia, which is a 9-minute masterpiece. Progressiveness with piano, and has this little Greek outro at the very end, but this woman, and it's just an amazing album to listen to. My number 2. Okay, before I go on with number 1, number 2, I need to say this. It took me less than a week to get my number 3 to number 10. It took me 2 weeks to get my number 1 and number 2. That's how good the competition was. These next 2 albums were neck and neck. They both came out at the very end of the year. I enjoyed the living crap out of both of these albums. And I had to make some tough decisions. I could have gone with the obvious one, but, you know. So my number 2 goes to Over the Flowers of Evil.
Of course.
First of all, I want to say thank you and damn you, Hannah, for getting me addicted to Over. Now, the reason that I say this, because when Hannah, I think it was Little Boy, the first song that I listened from the new album, I was like, this is a very interesting album. And then Nostalgia came out, I was like, okay, now it got a bit of my attention. So I decided to put it on my list to listen to. The album dropped. From the first note from One Last Dance, it was a great album. Russian Doll was really an outstanding song.
Yes. Oh yes! Oh yes!
But then the outstanding song of the entire album, Machine Guns and Peacock Feathers. I'm like, holy crap! It's so addicting that it's already a meme because of how good Hannah and I listened to it. Even the weakest song of the album, Hour of the Wolf, is a grower.
It's a grower,
It's a grower. And to be honest, I thought this was released in the 80s. If this was released in the 80s, it would have been every disco shot. It would have been like in the top 100 Billboard charts. Just an amazing album to listen to. And to be honest, this is the second printing. Because after the first printing, it sold out the living crap out of it. So I had to wait like an entire month to get the album. And yes, people are gonna be oversold out because they're no longer black metal. Yes, they sold out. They sold every single copy. Which who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares? I mean, always one of those bands that has changed their sound so much. Not even the first 3 albums are considered pure black metal.
Yeah. Listen to the Kvelditsaga, the second one. It's folk. It's straight folk.
Yeah.
And if you like the Flowers of Evil, go listen to the Julius Caesar.
Oh,
trust me.
Yes. And listen to the Assassination of Julius Caesar and the EP Sic Transit Gloria Mundi.
Oh yeah.
And real quick, Ricky, before you get to your number 1, I am announcing I just ordered Sodom and the Sign of Evil, Obsessed by Cruelty, the same one I got you, Ricky, because now it's like, now I want to get it for myself, so screw it.
And may I add something regarding Ulver? They released this awesome concert live in Bergen this year, and they play all the awesome songs from the Assassination of Julius Caesar and Sic Transit Gloria Mundi. It's just an incredible performance. I mean, it doesn't matter if you just listen to it or even watch it. It's insane.
But now
And
you're
don't
number
be
one.
And don't be surprised if this makes you want to dance, because it makes me want to
Aw.
dance a lot. My number
I
one.
also love the album cover. It looks like he's going to a barber.
Oh, Hannah's
Sorta.
gone. Oh, there he is.
There
There
she
she is.
be. There she be.
So number one.
My number one. It was pretty obvious I was gonna have this in my number one. Power Up by AC/DC.
Of
Now-
course.
Now,
Of course.
I'm gonna ramble a lot because I have a lot to say about this album. So I'm gonna separate it into 3 parts. So we have to go all the way back to 2009. Cue the. I was gonna say that.
One
Cue
way,
the back
bro.
all the way to 2009. So 2009, Angus began to see Malcolm acting funny. Not the usual funny. I mean, funny in a way that maybe because of all the drugs they've done and all the alcohol they've drank too. Because Malcolm began to, in a way, forget his ribs and his parts. So they finished the Black and Ice tour in 2009 in Argentina. And of course, they go back to the studio. In 2013, unfortunately, Malcolm Young is diagnosed with dementia and has to leave the band. And in the studio, they had to find a replacement, and they got the good replacement of Stevie Young. So right now, the lineup is Stevie, Angus, Phil, Brian, and Angus. They go to the studio, record the album, release Rocker Bus in 2014. It was received with good reviews and all that. They're gonna do the tour, and then Phil Rudd gets in some legal shit in New Zealand, which I won't talk about. That's for another story. But he has to leave the band, and they have to find a replacement. And they got the replacement of Chris Slade, who replaced Phil Rudd during the Thunderstruck tour in the 90s. They do their first European leg tour. Everything goes great. They come to America for a second American tour. Goes great. They go back to Europe, and that's where things start to go downhill. Brian Johnson began to lose his hearing, so he had to leave the band. And then they had this dilemma: does Angus cancel the rest of the tour, or do they go on with somebody else?
And lo and behold, they go on.
Lo and behold,
Axl
Lo and
Rose.
behold, Angus gets Axl Rose, which Angus thanks Axl for at least trying his best for, trying his best for doing as much as he can for helping the tour go along. So that tour goes, that is the Rocker Bus tour. November 2017, Malcolm Young passes away, which was the biggest blow out of everything. And, it was hard for a lot of, especially me, that Angus Young passed. After that, nothing happens. Malcolm Young. After that, nothing happens. No news, no rumors, no anything about AC/DC's future. Everyone thought that AC/DC was done. 2019 comes along. In mid to late July, we start seeing photos of them in the studio in Vancouver with Brian, Angus, and Phil. So the rumor mill began to fill along, and it went quiet for a bit. 2020 comes around. Dee Snider says in an interview, AC/DC are gonna release an album this year, and everyone was like, "What?" I personally was like, "There's no way they're gonna release an album." October comes up this year. Shot in the Dark comes out, and I just lost it. Like, I lost my marbles. I jumped around. I was so happy that I ordered the album that same day that it was announced. The album came out on November 13th. My birthday is November 11th, so it was the perfect birthday gift for me. And this album, holy crap, what an amazing album. From Shot in the Dark through Wild Reputation, which has a bit more of a country sound, to Demon Fire, Through the Mist of Time is a bit of a ballad, which is kind of shocking, even though ACDC don't have ballads, except for Ride On from Dirty Deeds. Code Red, Money Shot. I mean, the album is amazing. And, you know, there's a reason why ACDC is called the greatest rock and roll band in the world. They're loyal to their fans. Now, do I see them touring in the future? I see them touring. Maybe. I see them touring. It all depends on, hopefully this shit ends. Hopefully
and
next
if
year we start
Brian,
going back to,
if Brian can handle playing live again.
yeah. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully next year everything goes back to normal. We start going back to shows. And if they do announce a tour date in Texas,
you're there immediately.
$1 I'm gonna go. Because I have not seen AC/DC live. I need to see them. Even if it's just one time, I need to see my favorite band live. And that does it for my album of the year.
Well, that was the 2020 Albums of the Year episode. Now, we're going to take a few weeks break. We'll be back towards the beginning of January, maybe like the week after the start of January, and episode 46. We are doing our second album discussion about Primordials to the Nameless Dead. Right there.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
And then after that, episode 47, I believe we are doing the top 10 albums of the 90s. And in that episode, we're going back to the format we've been doing, and that is we say our lists and then comprise the overall 10. That one's going to be tough because, yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, not only on YouTube, but also on Twitch. I think we had more viewers on Twitch this time around, which was cool.
Well, like I said, we're going out with a bang.
Exactly. As we started off with all these presents. So, and to think, Christmas came early for us, and it's still 9 days away before I open the stuff downstairs. I actually need to take all this, put them downstairs too.
Same here.
But,
and then also some gifts probably will come out early next.
Yeah, particularly the 2 presents left for Artur to receive from Ricky and Raphael. But yeah, this year was kind of like a test for next year when we keep going with this. Perhaps we've learned a lesson. Next year, order the stuff directly and ship it to the address instead of shipping it to your house and then shipping it out. I did the smart move, so did Hannah. So.
I mostly get.
Hey, we tried it.
But we gave it a shot, and
we did good, maybe.
Against all odds, it was a success, but I think next year will be better as far as the consistency of stuff arriving, so...
Yeah.
But anyways...
The USA ones arrived early.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Horns high, and we'll see you...
Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Oh, yeah!